The North Atlantic is in flames. March 1943. Beneath the freezing waves, 38 German U-boats surround convoy SC-122 like hungry wolves. They're the best of the Kriegsmarine. In the last 3 days, they have sunk 21 merchant ships. More than 500 men have died in the icy waters. The German commanders are celebrating. Over the radio, they mock the Allies. One of them broadcasts in English. "Thanks for the Milkman." They are talking about the HMS Vanek, a British destroyer whose crew was known for delivering fresh milk before the war. To the Germans, it was a joke. A second-line ship commanded by an unknown captain. But what the Germans didn't know was that Milkman was about to become the Kriegsmarine's worst nightmare. In the next 72 hours, the captain they ridiculed would hunt U-boats like no one had ever done before. He would invent tactics that military manuals study to this day. And when it was all over, 19 German submarines would be at the bottom of the ocean. This is the story of how mockery turned into terror. To understand how impossible what Peters was about to do was, you need to understand what was happening in the Battle of the Atlantic in March 1943. It was the darkest moment of the naval war. Germany had 400 operational U-boats. They were sinking 500,000 tons of Allied ships per month. England was literally starving. Winston Churchill later said, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril." The Germans had developed the brutal tactic, wolf pack tactics. Instead of solitary U-boats, they now attacked in coordinated groups of 20, 30, even 40 submarines. And it was working. In February 1943, the Allies lost 63 merchant ships. In March, the number rose to 108. The math was brutal. If it continued at this rate, England would have to surrender in 6 months. Not for lack of will to fight, but for lack of food. The Allied destroyers were losing. They were too slow, too noisy, too predictable. U-boat commanders were trained to hunt hunters. They knew exactly how to escape a standard destroyer. But they had never encountered someone like James Peters. James Frederick Peters was born in Liverpool in 1901. His father was a fisherman. By age 12, Peters was already on the North Sea fishing boats. He didn't go to naval school. He had no formal military training. He learned the sea the hard way, by surviving it. By age 20, he was captain of a fishing boat. By 25, he had his own fleet. But the Great Depression destroyed the business. In 1935, Peters was delivering milk in Liverpool to survive. He drove an old van, woke up at 4 a.m., and delivered milk bottles door to door. His customers loved him, always punctual, always with a smile. When the war began in 1939, Peters was 38, too old for regular active service. But the Navy was desperate. They created the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve. Fishermen, merchant sailors, anyone with sea experience. Peters signed up immediately. His naval instructor wrote, "Peters has no formal education in naval tactics, but he understands the ocean in a way that cannot be taught." 6 months later, Peters received his first command, the HMS Vanek. The HMS Vanek was launched in 1917 at the end of World War I, a V-class destroyer. In 1943, it was a relic. The engines were from the World War I era. The hull had been patched so many times that engineers joked it was more weld than original steel. The depth charges were the old Mark 7 model, less accurate, less powerful. The sonar was a first-generation Aztec model, so noisy it sometimes detected its own propellers. When Peters took command, the previous officer said, "Good luck. You'll need it. This ship should be in a museum, not in combat." But Peters saw something others didn't. The Vanek was small. That meant it was more maneuverable than modern destroyers. It was old. That meant the crew knew every creak and vibration. And it was underestimated. That meant the Germans would never take it seriously. Peters spent 3 months modifying the ship. He violated regulations and ignored orders to make the Vanek unique. Peters installed extra depth charges. Regulations said 40. Peters carried 90. He redesigned the depth charge launchers. Normally, it took 4 minutes to reload. Peters got it down to 90 seconds. He trained the crew obsessively. 3 a.m. reload drills. attack simulations with men blindfolded. Peters also recruited Tommy Burke, a 19-year-old boy blind in one eye. The Navy almost rejected him, but Peters insisted. Burke has the best hearing I've ever seen. He can hear a submarine from 2 miles away. Burke became the sonar operator. He also brought in Douglas Sparks McAllister, a technician who could intercept and decipher German transmissions faster than any official specialist. March 1943. New York. Convoy SC-122 is being assembled. 50 merchant ships. Everything from wheat to aviation fuel. If this convoy reached England, it would feed the country for 2 months. If not, it could be the end. The Admiralty assigned 6 destroyers for protection: HMS Walker, HMS Hesperus, HMS Vimy, HMS Clematis, HMS Pennaward, and the HMS Vanek. The convoy commander looked at Peters. "Captain Peters, I know the Vanek isn't modern. Try at least not to sink on your own." The other captains laughed discreetly. Peters just nodded. Meanwhile, at U-boat HQ in France, Admiral Karl Donitz was looking at a map marking 38 U-boats. He called it Grupp Robgraf, Group Robber Baron. The plan was a coordinated night attack. Donitz chose his best commanders: Lehmann Willenbrock, von Forstner, and Rudloff. When Lehmann Willenbrock heard one of the destroyers was the Vanek, he laughed. He broadcast to the other U-boats, "When we sink the convoy, someone save some milk for me. I'm going to toast with the Milkman." They didn't know Peters was listening. Sparks intercepted and translated the transmission. Peters smiled and said, "Note that U-boat's number, Sparks. We're going to deliver the milk personally." March 16, 1943, 11:47 p.m. The convoy is 600 miles east of Newfoundland. Rough seas. Perfect conditions for U-boats. Burke is on sonar. He detects something. Peters goes to the sonar room and puts on the headphones. Most operators wouldn't hear anything, but Peters had spent 20 years fishing. This sound was mechanical, deliberate. It's a U-boat. Several. They are positioning. Peters radioed the HMS Walker. Probable U-boat contact. Multiple. The Walker responded, "We have nothing on sonar. Don't chase ghosts." Peters turned off the radio and ordered the crew to prepare depth charges and go to silent mode. 11:58 p.m. 3 torpedoes hit the SS Kingsbury. The explosion lights up the night. More torpedoes hit the SS Alderman and SS Port Auckland. 3 ships in 4 minutes. The other destroyers panicked, firing depth charges randomly. Peters didn't move. "The U-boats are watching," he said. "They want to see how we react. Give them 20 minutes. Then we hunt." 12:17 a.m. Peters ordered the Vanek to move silently, almost adrift. Burke heard a faint metallic hiss. "A U-boat recharging batteries," Peters noted. 3:17 a.m. He saw a periscope wake 240 yards away. Target acquired. It's the U-338. The U-338 was under the command of Manfred Kinzel. He was confident and didn't see the darkened Vanek. Peters calculated the current and speed. Solta Agora. 6 depth charges fell in a perfect pattern. The water exploded. Underwater, the U-338's hull buckled. It sank to 600 feet and imploded. The first U-boat was down. Peters ordered total silence. "They will come to investigate." 3:45 a.m. U-boat commanders heard the explosion. Lehmann Willenbrock ordered U-591 and U-229 to investigate. They expected an alert destroyer. Instead, they found silence. The Vanek was adrift. Burke whispered, "2 contacts. 800 yards." Peters let them come. In the U-591, Zetsk saw the stationary Vanek and prepared to fire torpedoes. 200 yards. Peters counted down. Machinas. Tota velocidade. The Vanek roared to life, turning sharply. 2 torpedoes missed by 20 meters. Peters dropped a diamond pattern of 12 depth charges. The U-591 imploded at 400 feet. The U-229 tried to dive, but was hit by the shockwave. It lost its rudder and was forced to surface. Peters was waiting. Canhos. Fogo avante. After several hits, the U-229 sank in flames. 3 U-boats in one night. Peters ordered the rescue of survivors. They're sailors like us. March 17th, 6 a.m. Donitz received the report. 3 U-boats destroyed by the Milkman. He radioed all U-boats. Priority changed. Destroy HMS Vanek at any cost. For the first time, a single destroyer became the primary target of an entire pack. Lehman Willenbrock gathered 7 U-boats to surround and destroy the Vanek. 2:20 p.m. The Vanek was isolated. Burke detected at least 7 contacts. Peters turned the ship directly into the center of the circle. He explained, if we go straight through the middle at high speed, they won't have a torpedo angle. Machinas tota velocidade de comete. The Vanek hit 30 knots. Peters launched depth charges in every direction. The U-384 was forced to surface, and Peters ordered the Vanek to ram it at 25 knots. The destroyer's bow cut the submarine in half. The U-665 imploded. The U-91 was sunk by gunfire. The U-167 was pursued and destroyed. In 40 minutes, 4 more U-boats were gone. But the Vanek was bleeding. Torpedoes had cracked the hull. 1 engine failed. March 18th, 5 a.m. The Vanek was struggling to stay afloat. Burke reported 12 contacts 5 miles away. Peters had 26 depth charges left and only 2 hours before the ship sank. He ordered the crew to prepare lifeboats, but they refused to leave him. He broadcast a fake position saying the Vanek was immobilized. 12 U-boats headed for the wrong spot. Meanwhile, Peters sailed toward them. 6:15 a.m. Through the morning mist, the Vanek emerged like a ghost right in the middle of the U-boats. Peters launched all remaining depth charges and detonated the illegal extra charges he had installed. 90 depth charges exploded at once. 8 U-boats were caught in the blast and destroyed. The explosion also finally broke the Vanek. Peters was the last to jump, 5 seconds before the ship vanished. March 1943. Convoy SC-122 lost 21 ships, but the remaining supplies reached England. 19 German U-boats were lost. 17 of them were sunk by the HMS Vanek. James Peters had killed more U-boats in 3 days than some destroyers did in the whole war. Churchill personally awarded him the Distinguished Service Cross. Peters died in 1976. At his funeral, veterans placed a bottle of milk on his coffin with a plaque, "The Milkman Who Delivered Victory." The HMS Vanek rests 3,000 meters deep, surrounded by 19 German submarines.